up, YouTube? Youth Director back here again. Finally finishing up on this wall. We're not quite finished, but at least we're moving along with it. We have the stud wall mostly up. We're still putting in some bracing. We have a few other things to do. We need to run electrical in the wall and so forth. So that's what this video is about, getting some electrical done, finishing up with this bracing, attaching the wall to the floor, and showing you guys all about some tips and tricks and things that we might have along the way. So here we go. All right, so we're going to put these two pieces of wood in between some studs to have a nice platform to drill to for the TV that's going to hang on the backside of the wall. So to do that, we're going to make some holes for these screws. As you may know, I've been using this jig a lot lately. I love using this pocket hole jig so that I can make holes and put screws in where it'd otherwise be difficult. You might also notice that I moved to a different room here, trying to avoid putting a lot of sawdust on the floor. I did create a pretty big mess here, but I was able to keep it off the floor, and from stepping through it and making a mess all over the place, I'm just going to have to vacuum up later. So Jack told me he would like to have the TV mounted up to about where this knot on the wood is. So about right there. So that's where I'm going to put the pieces of wood. So that way this is about the center of the TV, at the top, bottom of the TV, just right height. So there's a couple of things you may notice here in just a second. I put the pieces of wood, those little braces, lower on the wrong little knot in the wood. I put it on a lower knot. So I end up having to move this later on because they're in the wrong place. Another thing too is the brace for the not the brace, but the actual mount for the TV is definitely taller than this piece of 2x4. So I wish I'd maybe used a larger piece of wood for this. Would have made it much easier. All right, so now I'm going to put in electrical outlet for the TV side. I'm going to make this about 16.5 inches from the floor, right there. All right, so we got a couple of extra studs put in there, some braces and things like that, so that we can screw things into, and we've got boxes for our electrical outlets. So let me show you what we have. So I had to move these just a little bit higher because I didn't have them in the right spot for the TV that's going to go on the other side. Down here, we're to put a floating shelf, and I wanted to get a stronger piece of wood behind the drywall, so that's why I put an extra piece of wood there. There's the electrical outlet box for that nightstand area. There's just the electrical outlet box for the TV on the other side. And right here, another floating shelf with a brace, and then the electrical outlet box for that. Before we went any further, we wanted to make sure that the electrical outlet boxes were going to fit up with the drywall. The reason that we did fit at this time instead of waiting is because the electrical outlet boxes are made so that they easily mount onto the 2x4 studs while also fitting flush through the 1/2 inch drywall. Well, my mistake led us to getting 5/8 inch drywall instead of the 1/2. This means that rather than use the quick set guide on the side of the electrical outlet box, we had to adjust the box on the 2x4 stud so that it sits forward 1/8 of an inch. This way the outlet box would now be flush with the thicker drywall. And you know, there also are lines on the outlet box that can be used as a guide for different depths of drywall, so we did have that somewhat of a gauge to go by. For some reason my camera is going like crazy right here, so I definitely need to check the settings on that. Some pretty good focusing issues. Oh, and also we did use my oscillating tool to cut the holes, and it worked perfect for this job. Now, as I'm putting up the wire drop for the electrical to the outlets, let me pause and offer up some information on exactly what I am doing. But first, remember, I am an idiot here in my own home, fixing and meddling with things. I am by no means a professional. Though I may have some tips and some tricks to share, please refer to your local code before working on or around electricity. That said, here we go. Okay, here's a shot at the completed wall. I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a look at some measurements and how code has to be followed for certain holes and things like that are drilled into floor joists. So this is a floor joist. It's a 2x10, which actually means it's a inch in 7.5 by 9.25 inches, or 9.25 inches. And so whenever you drill a hole, or actually make a notch in the side of this wood, there's only so far that you can go in to this wood. So the depth of the board, since it's 9.25 inches, you cannot go more than 0.125 of that 9.25 inches. So if you multiply 9.25 times 0.125, you get 1.15 inches. So as long as you're no more than 1.15 inches from the edge of the board, you should be good. Again, this is supposed to be what's called a notch. I drill a hole because the wood is sitting on top of, or actually underneath it, is the top plate for the wall, and it would have been hard to get something in there to cut a square notch. So I just drilled a hole, and it should be okay, even though it's a hole, because it's a small hole. And you can see that hole is less than an inch in diameter. So we've got how far into the wood that we can be. So if we take 9.25 and subtract 1.15 from it, what we get is 8.1. And if I draw a little line right here across, you can see that right there is about 8.1 inches on the depth of the board, and this hole just misses it. It meets up to that threshold, just misses it, so we're good right here. We didn't drill too far into the wood to affect the integrity of the board at all. Now there's another code that you have to follow when you're looking at that, and that is from the span of this piece of wood. This piece of wood is 7 feet whenever you're looking at pole to pole support in the basement. So you can see a little bit of this support right here, the black top plate of that support. We're about a foot from the center of that support to the center of this hole. And so the rule states, or the code states, that you can be no less than 0.07 of the span, which is 7 feet or 84 inches, or more than 0.4 of the span of 84 inches going on the way in. So you can be between 0.07 and 0.4. And so if you take 84 inches and multiply it by 0.07, you get 5.88 inches. So I cannot be any closer than 5.88 inches. And like I said, we're about a foot from that, so we're good there. Now, to make sure we're not too far, we need to multiply 84 times 0.4. That's how far in we can go. We can't go any further in towards the center of this span, which is 33.6 inches. So we're well within the range between almost 6 inches from the end of the span to 33, almost 34 inches into the center of the span. We can be between that, and we're good. So we've got this. We can check this off. This meets the code, and we should be good to go. All right, so what I've done here is I already have a space where I'm going to put a junction box up there to connect to the other cabling. And so in the future, if I ever decide to continue this false ceiling that's in the other rooms, I wanted to get just past where the drywall is going to be, just enough to kind of run it down through here. Now, on this, the 2x4s are, 3.5, even though I say 2x4, they're 3.5 inches thick. You have to make sure that whenever you're doing your electrical wires, that you have them at least 1.25 inches from the edge of the wood, so that way if you're nailing something or screwing something into the wall, it doesn't hit the wire. So you use these wire staples, which are actually plastic staples with metal nails in them. So we're going to make sure that we get that right nice and centered down this 2x4, so that way if we ever screw anything in this wall, we don't have to worry about hitting or penetrating the electrical wire. So we're going to mark it 1.75 inches in to know where the center is. I really don't like to put these much closer than 12 inches, but that's what I'm trying to do. about a foot apart just to be safe so they don't wander inside the wall. Now, I will say something here. This is a plastic receptacle outlet, and because it's plastic, you cannot affix the wire to it because it's not a metal box. A lot of the metal boxes will have a little ring that goes around the wire, holds it in place nice and firm, so you can't pull it out. And so because of that, normally you have to affix a wire staple within a foot, within 12 inches of the box, if it's a metal box. But since this is a plastic box and there's nothing holding it into the box, you'd have to affix the staple within 8 inches of the box to make it safe. So in a plastic box, you always want to put a staple within 8 inches of that box. So when you're doing these wires, when they come through the box, you want at least 3 to 6 inches to come out the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off 6 inches from right here where it goes into the box down the wire. That should give me enough wire to go through the box and attach it and so forth. Yeah, about 3.5 inches. I like to have just a little bit more than that, so maybe next time I might cut off 7 inches off the back of the box just to give it just a little bit more. So let's take a look at this wire. Like I said, I ran the staples about every 12 inches. They recommend that you run them about every 2 feet with a maximum of 4.5 feet in between. And again, you staple that last staple within the box is like 12 inches from the box, or 8 inches if it's a plastic box. But this is what I decided to do, 12 inches, just because I'm not a professional at this, and I'm not trying to go for like speed or anything like that. So I feel like the more staples I have in there, the more secure it's going to be in the wall, and the less chances there are going to be for me to like puncture the cord, or the cable. So here's what I have. Top, again, about every foot. You can do it every 2 feet is what's recommended. And then right there, it's about 5 inches from the box. Now, let me say something about this drywall right here. Of course, it's not screwed on yet, but I made sure I got 5/8 inch drywall by accident instead of getting a 1/2 inch. So I had to move my boxes out a little bit. But if you see the box right here, it's going to fit up flush right with this wall. And that's what you want, because if you don't, then if your box is inset, the wall plate, once you put it on there and you screw it in, it's going to snap the wall plate, crack it right in the middle where the screw is at. So you want to have this box at least within 1/4 inch of the edge of the drywall. So looks like ours is going to match up just right. I'm happy about that on both sides. If you look over here, same thing. Once we push the drywall in, nice and pretty much flush right there. It might be, yeah, flush at the top. So happy about that. So now I'm going to run the kind of piggyback from this box to another box, and from that box to another. So we have 3 outlets down here. Okay, so I ran out of wire. Kind of stinks. I have to get all I need is about 4 feet of wire. Oh, but anyway, wire's expensive. I wanted to also tell you something else too about when you're running horizontal runs through the walls. You do not need to affix these since they're horizontally ran to the middle of the wall. You only need to affix the vertical one. So of course I did affix it before it went to that box right there. Now all I have to do is get another piece of cable or wire and run it to that outlet there. And I'll be done with running the wire for a little bit at least. Okay, we just got back from the store and I picked up a few goodies. Since we're doing the 12-2 wire. I needed to get 4 more feet of it to make sure I can connect from this box to that box. So we got 4 more feet of that. We have a junction box right here to connect the wires from upstairs to down here, and to make sure all the wires are not like loose inside of the holes, so you have to punch out those holes. We've got these 3 1/8" to 1/2" knockout connectors, and we've got our 20 amp circuits. 2 of these are tamper resistant, one of them isn't. I had to go to 2 different stores. And finally, I got me some alignment pliers. Not cheap, about 20 bucks, but those have cutters on them as well as an end to twist wires together, so you get a good twist on them before we put them in the wire nuts. So anyway, we're gonna get to work on that. Install this last wire, install the electrical outlets, and then we'll see if we can get some help to get that drywall down here and finish up the drywall. So after I installed these wires, I went back and watched some videos and realized I should have used more Romex wire through the electrical outlet box. That way I would have had more wire to work with when I went to install the actual circuits or plugs. And also, if you're a professional, you usually strip these wires before you stick them into the boxes. I did it afterwards. You can see that I left too much of the yellow sheathing on there. There really should only be about a 1/2 inch of yellow sheathing left on the Romex wire inside the box, and I left probably 2.5 inches on there. That causes me not to have enough separation of the different wires within the Romex, and so whenever I go to attach it to the outlet, it makes it really difficult to get it on there because it binds pretty quickly with the yellow sheathing. So lesson learned here, the next time I go in and install some plugs and things like that, I'll make sure that I strip that all the way back to about a 1/2 inch left in the box. It'll give myself a lot more room to work with, and I'll also make sure that I can take the wires and kind of lay them on top of themselves when they go inside the box, so I'll have more wire to work with as well. Okay, electrical outlets are all wired up. Again, the horizontal wires do not need to be stapled in, but they are stapled in the middle. So happy with that so far. Now I'll see if I can get some help to get this drywall down here, and so we can get the rest of these, the drywall put up and holes cut and things like that. All right, so I almost forgot to affix the bottom of the stud wall to the floor. And again, I'm gonna do it with just a simple way. What you can do is you take a 1/4 inch masonry drill bit and have a drill with a hammer function on it. And what you can do is you can drill straight through the wood into the floor as far as you can go, and then take some 16D nails and just hammer 2 of them in the hole to where that you just drilled, and it will keep it nice and tight. And that's just an easy way, no special masonry screws or anything like that, no plastic inserts or anything, and it'll hold it nice and tight. So I'll give you a little bit of a view of what I can do for that, or what I want to do for that. All right, so I've already drilled the hole. Here's the masonry drill bit. You hear the hammer function taking place whenever it catches a little bit of resistance. These common nails right here, 16D, 3.5 inch will work well. It'll go the 1.5 inches through this, another 2 inches into the floor. If I can figure out how to open them up. A special tool to open up boxes, claw of a hammer. Anyway, I'm going to take 2 of these nails, stick them both in the hole, same time. And that's not going to go anywhere. Not going to go anywhere. All right, so I'm going to do that 2 more times. Now my drill bit is a little bit too short for the nails. So depending on how your length of drill bit, you might want to get 3-inch nails, or a longer drill bit. But this wall right here, this wall is not, it's not moving. It's good to go. Didn't mess up my carpet or anything like that, didn't snag it, pull anything. I was able to drill right through the carpet too. And so if I ever pull this up, I don't think I'm gonna you won't even see the holes in the carpet if I ever take this wall out. So pretty happy with that. So to finish up this wiring and get it checked and tested and make sure everything is hooked up right, we needed to go ahead and plug it into the main wiring that we're tapping into from upstairs. So we have our box, we just installed it, and we have our incoming wire that's coming in for power. We have our new wire that we just put in going in, and then our wire that's passing through to the upstairs outlets, all going into the same box, all three of them going to the same box. It was pretty difficult to get them all in there and to get them all tied together with wire nuts, as you'll see here in just a moment. Plus, as you remember before, I didn't cut off enough sheathing here. I should have cut off more sheathing. It would have been a lot easier to deal with. And we're going to fix this here in just a little bit, but I want to show you what I did and had to deal with for just a while before I got the right type of nuts, wire nuts, and fixed this box and did everything that needed to be done with it. So here's a look at what we just did. Yep, not the best work. Pretty much like a rat's nest in there. I didn't have the wires long enough. I guess I could redo it, but I think they're tight enough in there that they'll stay. So I'm gonna leave them like that for right now. Hopefully this will work. So after leaving it like that for a while, I decided I had to get back in there and fix that box. For one thing, the box was not grounded. I did not have a ground screw. I did not have a wire going to the box. So if for some reason one of those wire nuts came loose and a wire touched that box, it became energized and it could have shocked somebody if they touched it. So what you see in this picture is I have a new type of nut. It's called a Wago nut. I'd seen these before, had not had a chance to use them, but I thought this would be the perfect time to use it. I went ahead and stripped all the wires back, made sure there was only a half-inch of sheathing inside the box, and now I have plenty of room to move these wires around to get them where I need them. So I bought this wire. This Wago nut has actually 5 different places where you can put wire in it, and so I have the ground wire going to the box, and then each of the 3 wires, Romex wires coming in, their ground wire also going into this Wago nut, so they all are connected together with this Wago nut. So it worked out really well. And here's another picture that I've taken. It's a different Wago nut. It's only got 3 inputs on it, and I've got all the hot wires wired together on this one. This last picture, you can finally see the finished product. We have the white wires all wired together, the hot wires all wired together, the ground wires wired together, and the boxes bonded to the ground wire, so everything is good. If something was to come loose in here, we now have a box that is going to short out. You will not won't get electrocuted by touching this box. So happy that is finally taken care of. So that's a pretty good stopping point for us right now. We have the electrical in, we've got it spliced into the main power of the house, and we have the outlets working. I did not film that part showing the outlets working yet, but they are working. We got a TV hooked up to it, it's going on. We got their phones charging on the other side. Their bed's actually against the wall now. So coming up in the next video, we'll talk about getting the drywall on the wall and how to fix that, and some little problems we may have had here or there, but we finally have all that stuff up. So stay tuned for part 3 to see us get the drywall up on this wall. And again, thanks for being here, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.